Hello, so it takes a while to unlock all of the ships, but you can unlock them on the normal difficulty. So before you get into the ship, I just want to mouse over the commanders. Keep in mind that it's super important what equipment slots they have, also what modules you put on your ship. So some ships or some commander might seem weak, but with certain, synergies, they can become very strong. This is probably the strongest commander in the game currently. It just has too many advantages. I think the developer should buff the other commanders as well. The weak paladin. The paladin is also very weak. I hope they buff him very soon. Assassin and Cannibal. So we're missing only 2 commanders. I'll be mostly playing with the cybernetic. He's just too good. And look at this. Now, there's a big catch to all of this. As you can see, you don't have variant C for the ships. So most of the ships will not have a variant C, but I noticed that some of them will have a C variant that you'll need to unlock by using your resonance. So this is very interesting because I didn't realize this. I guess only the Interdictor has a C variant. Okay, so let's begin. And if they have a C variant, I'll show it as well. So let's start with the basic stuff. Now, again, I wish to show you their slots over here as well, but this is the basic ship with the basic stuff. It starts off with a launch bay, which is amazing because you don't have to pay for it and search for it. And also, as you can see, my commander has pretty decent stats, good HP and good damage, and these guys have, I think they have armor and weapon slots, so they're very strong and very useful, very versatile. Very good start for the game in case you want to, have fun without anything specialized. Probably most people play with this ship a long time. The B variant, well, this is where it gets a little more specialized. As you can see, you start with psychers, which is not such a big thing, but look at the weapons. You have a retributor, which has a chance to fire, and it fires 3 shots, plus the energy lance. The energy lances have a limited amount of shots per fight, so that means you'll be able to fire them 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and then they're useless for the entire fight. You have to power them down and maybe power something else up. So this guy starts with the healing projectile. I don't think this is the basic spell for an Imperial Magister. They might have different spells when you buy them, but this is super useful because it's a heal. So you can use this heal 2 times per fight. So yeah, basically free healing, and you can even heal your own units on the enemy ship, which is massively important because you also just heal your own troops on your ship. So much versatility. Beautiful. Interdictor. Now this is where things get complicated. As you can see, you only have 1 Warseer on yourself, but you can still board because you have the launch bay, but your weapons are much weaker with a disruptor that fires every 9 seconds, and this thing, the storm cannon, 2 shots. It's not very bad. And you also have the husk creator, husk rack. It means you'll get more and more husks over the time of the battle. We can just put them on the additional systems of the ship, so it's still very good because you basically have infinite crew during a fight. Plus the hardened casing means you have 10 HP, so that means they go from 15 to 25 HP and 3 damage. So they basically be like the average crew members in a way. Interdictor B. Now this is where things get more fun. Also, the flare cannon is one of the rarest weapons I've seen. You rarely see it. It only creates breaches, but it doesn't damage the hull, so be very careful with this. So hull damage per shot, no hull damage per shot. Also fire 2 shots every 13 seconds, which is great. Basically you want to aim at the big rooms of the enemy ship, so you create a lot of hull breaches, then switch to the other one. And these guys have decent damage, plus decent health as well. They repair slower, but the problem is, or I guess the advantage is, you'll be able to punch holes in the enemy ship, and then when there's no oxygen, send them in. You can also give some equipment to a cybernetic commander, which makes him immune to oxygen. I guess to his yeah, he doesn't need oxygen anymore. It's weird that they chose the suffocation as the word. They could have just said something else, I don't know. Anyway, this is great because you have the launch bay from the beginning, and you can launch your commander with one of the commanders, which means you'll have 7 DPS from the start, plus you'll be able to operate in low oxygen environments as well. Now this is the C variant. Announcer boarding, a terror of the space lanes. As you can see, this costs a lot of resonance. I'm not sure if I want to unlock it just yet. But here you start with some amazing things as well. God King's Mantle. Select from 3 rewards instead of 2 when choosing rewards. This might not sound like it's a lot, but trust me, if you're playing on a higher difficulty level, this means you will be getting better equipment, better modules, and also better rewards. So don't underestimate this. This can be super strong. Let me see what else we have over here. I'm not coming too much on the ship layout because sometimes you'll have extra stuff. For example, this one has the missile base from the beginning, which is great. Has 2 retributors, which is also very good. Instead the enemy ship on fire plus the hellfire missile. So yeah, he'll be setting the enemy ships on fire very fast. Imperial Scribe is kind of weak, but you can assign any psychic spell to him, which is great. Purify is useless, but if you can get something else for him, it will be much better. We have a Jean Soldier, which is one of the strongest soldiers you can get. I think he can get all of the slots except for I'm not sure, I didn't really get a lot of Jean Soldiers because they're the Raider Outlaws. You have to be careful with the suffocation though. Very good start. And this is where we get to the interesting part. So as you can see, the Interdictor has even the C1. Relic Freighter, well, this is one of my favorite starts in the game and probably the strongest we can get for a very long time, unless we get to near the ending of the ships. Now the Deathbringer is a psyker which can do reverse boarding, so as you can see, we're kind of getting to the point where not every ship will have a launch bay. So basically, it's a weird thing because this is the slowest way to win fights, but it's also the surest way to win fights. So you'll be using the putrefactors to release a lot of toxic gas on enemy ships, and that means they'll not be able to repair the system fast enough to regain all of their things. And while they are repairing super slow, you'll be taking damage, and while they're doing that, you can also just reverse summon them on your ship. You can teleport them on your ship and kill them. You also get a Death Knight, which is one of the strongest space marines in the game, physically. I don't think they can equip armor, and maybe they can only equip a weapon, and I'm not sure, I forgot anyway. But they also start with their own psychic power, which means they can extinguish all fire and create toxic gas in the current room. Yeah, it's much better if you choose another commander for this one. You have the Wit, but unfortunately the Wit moves very slow. On the other hand, look at all of that HP. So basically with all of that HP, you will have 2 super strong boarding units and you will be able to teleport on the enemy ship if you get a spell, a module, no, not module, if you get a spell, a support item, consumable, a relic bay, or even a lance or something. There are many ways to teleport on the enemy ship or teleport them back to you. So this is one of my favorite stats. I guess the weapons don't really carry that good over time, and plus you'll be so bored. Usually I finish a run in 2 hours, but with this one I finished it in 3 hours. Yeah, that's how slow it is. Other than that, is so good. Variant B. Now this is a summon build. Like I keep saying, there are certain things that will make things so much easier. So for example, there is a module that will cause all of your units to deal 10 damage on death. So that means 3 rot spawns will cause 30 damage to anyone near them when they die. And you also have more goals, so this is basically the summoner build. You'll be so happy with this build sometimes, but sometimes it gets super annoying because you have to manage a lot of stuff with very low HP units. Unfortunately, we have this one for 10 more HP, so that means oh, by the way, this is the HP with the bonuses. As you can see, it shows you the bonus, so they'll not get more than this. They're just making average crew members that can summon a lot of units, and you'll have a putrefactor plus the radium blaster. The radium blaster will damage any crew, so including your own, so you probably want to send some units over there, let them fight, and when they're low HP or almost dead, use this one. And the Pathogenic just works as you think it works. Fun to play, but this is where it becomes very, how should I put that? Very annoying because it takes so long to finish a fight. And then you have the C variant over here. Zeus cannon. This is also a very rare weapon. you deal a lot of hull damage. Hull damage per shot is free, but you fire super slow, 14 seconds, one shot every 14 seconds. Yeah. But the damage is quite fun. You also have a Radium Blaster tier 2 over here, which fires 2 shots, which means you'll deal 60 crew damage. So you might think, wow, this is amazing, I can decrew an enemy ship so fast. Think about the enemies being able to summon demons, think about the enemies with 3 or 4 shields, so it's not as good as it sounds, because with this setup you basically have nothing to punch through enemy shields. You have to wait until this charges, 2 shots, destroy the shield, and then damage the shield. I don't know, it's a little bit weird. But you have the Apostles on DK. Plus the Sigil of Rot. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. If you can get the Sigil of Rot on some other some other ships that have poison, there is a missile that basically causes 1/3 of the enemy ship to be filled with poison, which is great. So I guess you want a putrefactor as fast as you can, plus more stuff that helps you with the poison. So definitely with this particular ship you want the wheat. I mean, you can play with whatever you like. Probably I'll just fill the slots with whatever I like. You don't have to go very thematical. I guess I should tell you this as well. It's very hard to get what you want, because to get, let's say, death cult units, you need to go to a death vault and also use a death shrine, which will also cause a very bad event to happen. Some events just give you resources, but I think when you go for the cultists, your ship will get invaded by a lot of small demons, so it's going to be tricky with some of the events, which is surely a fun way to play. Now, the Assault Cruiser is where things get a little bit annoying, because as you can see, you don't really have a lot of weapons. You start with missiles and a storm cannon, 2 shots every 12 seconds, but no modules. You have berserkers that are very good at defending the ship because they move so fast and they can equip 2 weapons. Really not other support items either. Though the scavengers, I think they don't have a weapon slot, they have armor and support. So you have 3 crew members and you also have a launch bay. So this is a pretty solid option to start. But once you run out of missiles, you'll basically be dealing no damage. So you need to rush a weapon. So this is where things will get much more complex, because you don't see it in the beginning, but your crew is weak. You have only 1 weapon and then the missiles. And that's about it. Remember, you can miss 3 or 4 missiles per fight as well, so that's... I had a game where I missed so much that I couldn't even kill the enemies. This is a much better one, but like I said, you're just going to have to play to your strengths. For example, these guys are great because psychic projectiles never miss, they ignore the shields, and they basically do what they say. The travel time is also pretty fast, so basically you'll be dealing 2 damage to the enemy ship regardless of what happens with their shields or the repairs or anything else. Sadly, the Fusillade is pretty hard to use because it has a spread, fires projectiles every 16 seconds, but it's pretty hard to use consistently, so you'll have to destroy the enemy shields with the greater Warseers, so you'll put them on the shields and then you put this on the weapons. But in 16 seconds, that means the enemies will fire first at your ship, so yeah. We're getting into the territory where you'll start to take damage almost every fight if you're not careful. Then variant C. Oh, you have no crew over here. So your commander will have more speed, but you have no crew, which can be harder to play. Thunder cannons just deal more hull damage and they reload slower. Electric pulse. Oh, I see what you're supposed to do, this guy. You're supposed to, yeah, stun the enemy crew. It has quite a big spread, plus 2 projectiles. I don't think they stack. Maybe they stack, I'm not sure. Never played this one, but your commander will have to do all of the heavy lifting and you don't even start at the launch bay. But you have a shield charger, so this is another thing that is quite hard to get unless you start with it. Massively boost shield recharge rate, so it's basically on a cooldown. So I guess it's a very strong start, but you need to get crew as fast as possible, otherwise you'll be in a lot of trouble. Probably it's a very fun ship. Heavy frigates. Let me look at something over here. I guess you do start with 3 weapon ships already in the web, already bought, so good economy. Heavy frigate, infiltrator, Scavenger, yeah. This is your basic Scavenger build. As you can see, you have 1 DPS to everyone, they have 4 damage. So this is probably one of the, as I put it, more average ships you can take because it has everything you would need. It does have a bolt cannon and a twin disruptor, which is kind of bad, but think about it, you're firing 3 shots every 11 seconds. Which is quite good. Remember, you'll be out shooting the enemy in the first duel. Just need to find a launch bay, plus this thing over here. This thing is also very good because it doesn't really say it, and I think the developers could do more work over here. 3 ammunitions to deploy, which means you also start, I think, with 30 ammo, so unless they show how much ammo you start with, it's going to be very hard for new players to pick this one. This basically fires every 5 seconds or something like that, I don't know. So you just have to take care of the enemy shields. But that's not so hard with the twin disruptor. You just aim it at the shields, you just aim this at the weapons. And then when it's a big ship, you activate this thing. I had fights where my this laser over here, the Siege beam, fired even 20 times. Sometimes this thing will be the highest damage weapon on your ship, but again, it can be very hard to play this one if you run out of ammo. So definitely one of the strongest starts, but you'll have to work very, very hard to upgrade your existing things. Also, barrier relay, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the barrier relay can also stop missiles. Don't quote me on this, but I think once my missile got stopped, over here it shows you what additional equipment they start with, so having 2 hull patches is great. I recommend you buy all of the hull patches when you see them, and if you have the extra resources, you'll need a lot of them. And sometimes you want to go for the shops and not the repair stuff. Pretty good, but remember, you have husks which are very weak, and they might die to poison gas, to suffocation, and some other stuff. You have a cyborg priest which can cast another protection barrier. So this is a very good combination, but it's very hard to play after a while because you cannot destroy the enemy shields. If you cannot destroy the enemy shields, that's it, you have nothing to do. You just look at how you lose. So definitely, most of these ships will require new guns as fast as possible, and also a way to repel damage, but this is much easier to defend because of the shields and the cyborg priests. This is actually a tanky build in a way. Variant C. Anything else? I like the layout. Everything is so close together, and you can put a launch bay and a healing room over here somewhere. Oh, well, I'll not even start to comment on the compartment and how you're supposed to put things, but that's also something you have to consider. This raid is kind of weak. The kinetic glance is very strong because it creates multiple breaches in the target room, which the enemy will have to fix instantly. But it only has 2 shots, so that means you'll have to be very fast. I like the kinetic glance, it's one of the best weapons in the early game, but later it becomes useless almost. Because there are just too many crew members on the enemy ships and they destroy and they repair super fast. Each shot you fire fully charges 1 random uncharged weapon, must be powered. Basically you fire this thing, and then you reload the fuselage, fire it again, and you have a lot of damage in the early phases of the game. Plus the Aberrant has a crew stun, and I think you can replace it with something else. This is a strong start, but you don't have any... This is burst damage without any sustained damage. Very, very fun to play as. I guess one of the problems with something like this will be that the rooms in the back will be very hard to defend, and sometimes you have to defend all of your rooms. I guess there are some issues here. Oh well, let's go to the Explorator. Now this is one of the fun ones. This is basically the Mechanicus full charge. Teleports our crew in the target room to opposing shields. So this is what I was talking about. Basically you can for example put your border units over here and then teleport them on the enemy ship, or you can teleport the enemies on your own ship. Now the problem with this one is that the penetrators, even though they are good, they use up 2 power. They pierce 1 shield. They deal 2 hull damage per shot, but again, they do need more power than usual for a weapon of this type. You also have a Hex Priest, which prevents the target system from being repaired. So the idea is, you shoot this thing at the enemy weapons, it pierces 1 shield, then use the Hex Priest to stop them from repairing the system. I think the Hex Priest are some of the strongest units in the game just because they can stop or repair. So that means the enemy will not have shields or weapons for 20 plus seconds. And the combat tasks have so much damage in the beginning. They're one of the strongest or the highest DPS basic units. But the problem, of course, will be that the ship layout is a bit annoying, since you don't have a lot of space, and as you can see, you'll have a lot of small rooms to work with. You have to keep a very close eye on all of your crew members. I guess if you can get the launch bay early on, this will be amazing. I kind of like it a lot, because you get extra health from resting. So this will be one of the first ships you play with that will basically cut through enemy lines like they're nothing. You'll go through enemies like they're like you're a hot knife through butter. Fun, very fun. If you go to the B variant, well, this is the harder to play, but you get an assault cyborg. You have a storm cannon tier 2, which the storm cannons are basically the best weapons in the game as long as you don't die. But you also have a heavy iron lance, which ignores the shield. So basically you are supposed to disable enemy weapons and then the shield and then fire as you like, and it's very fun, it's very strong, it's a strong build. Hit shielding is basically useless, they have to do more with the fire. But I guess on the higher difficulties the enemies will start to have more fire-based weapons, which is interesting. You also have the Flux Priests. Basically you have to upgrade the weapon, and you don't have to upgrade the energy because they can provide extra energy. The problem with the Flux Priests is that they don't have damage, as you can see, 1 damage. So that means if you get boarded by something, you'll not be happy. On the other hand, I saved this for last. The Assault Cyborg can teleport itself into the enemy room. So basically you can teleport the cyborg to the weapons room, destroy everything. The Assault Cyborg, this guy only has 1 weapon slot. So if you give him a good weapon or something that has 4 damage, that means 8 damage. Then he can kill almost anyone on the enemy ship. And then you just recall him and he discharges, and then you can send him back. So it's kind of fun to watch this. So this is probably one of the stronger starts in the game as well. Just because you have the weapons, you have the sustained damage, you also have a teleporting unit, which is better than the launch bay because this is instant. Plus this has a lot of HP, I don't know, it's so fun to play as this one. Wonder what the C variant will be for something like this. Yeah, the mechanic cult is very strong. By the way, there is a huge difference. This is a machine priest, this is a machine slave, so don't confuse them. The machine priests are just the machine priests, and the idea is that the machine slaves don't get bonuses from the machine priest and so on. So you better install some modules for the machine slaves, in my opinion, since this is the unit that will do the fighting. Overseer. Oh boy, now we will get to the hard stuff, because as you can see you are going to be working more with psychers. This is quite good in the beginning, but it will lose its damage very fast. So what is the Stygian Worm? The Stygian Worm will spawn tendrils on your ship. This one is also not controllable by you. I think that they should say that somewhere. You cannot control it, it will just roam around your ship and summon stuff to attack the enemy borders, which is quite strong. Summon a thrall. And this... well, I guess this is not the... you'll see the B variant. This is not very strong, so in the beginning you'll think, wow, this is kind of bad. You'll only have 2 units that are more or less capable of combat. Pain Engine gives all of the Blood Cultist 10 HP, which is quite nice. But there is a catch to all of this. You have this thing over here. This is another beam weapon. Consumes 1 unit of ammunition to fire. So this is just a regular beam that uses 1 ammunition every time you use it. It's not like the other one that you activate and then it fires. No, this time you have to use it when you can, and it will consume a lot of ammo. This is one of the harder builds to work with because you just have nothing going for you. So you have to get more psychers or get something to protect your crew or get a launch bay very fast. The B variant of this Overseer is super strong, but look at this. You might be thinking, well, what's wrong with this ship? Well, first of all, it doesn't have a weapons bay. No weapons bay, so that means you have to buy one. But it does have the thrall room. And weirdly enough, this is actually one of the strongest builds in the game. Why is that? Because the room will summon thralls, and you can upgrade the room to summon thralls faster. So basically what this does is you fire a projectile every 3 seconds if you have the thralls. you also have one thrall to start with. So you summon one thrall over there, and then basically just fire projectiles at the enemy ship that have 100% accuracy. The problem will be that you'll need some weapon systems as fast as possible, because as you can imagine the missiles will not be that good. But if you can get a full psyche build going, you will not even need anything else. Plus this guy has a lot of HP and good damage, so you can also use him for boarding. Actually I had a lot of fun with this build. The problem is that you have to click so many times and wait. If you don't wait until a front spawns, the cooldown is 1 minute. If you use a thrall to damage the enemy ship, it's only 3 seconds, so be very careful. One of the best builds of the game, but also very hard to use, and also a lot of clicking and a lot of micromanagement. Some of these ships are super micromanagement intensive. I guess the issue is that this is becoming the more specialized ships. And unless you know your way around the game, you'll have a very bad time with it. Oh boy, this thing over here. Well, enemy ships lose 10% evasion. This is actually very important, because 10 evasion can mean you hit all of your shots. You also have 2 missile bays, which means you'll have 1 less weapon slot, so you can only have 3 weapons. I'm not sure if you can uninstall these things. I don't think you can. But you can only get 3 weapons, so 3 normal weapons and 2 missile based weapons. But you also can use reverse boarding and some other stuff to board, so it has a boarding option from the beginning. You also have this guy over here which has good health, plus can damage the enemy crew, and the servo husk. This one, I'll not lie, this one is very hard to play with, because you need a lot of ammo, you cannot board, you cannot do much. You can damage the enemy crew, but that's about it, so your best hope over here is to just get stuff that kills the enemy crew faster. Very hard to play with this one. B variant. The B variant is so much better than the A. You have a Warseer. You have a stun, a Doom effigy, which is one of the strongest demons in the game. Probably, yeah, the curent engine is one of my favorite ships to play with. Because this guy will summon 2 skeletons in the target room, meaning it can summon on your own ship or on the enemy ship. It does have quite a bit of cooldown, but 90 HP, this means it will never die unless you are very bad at the game or just get very unlucky. But I guess I have to explain this because it's not very clear. So basically what you do, you also have the demolisher around. You might be wondering, why is it so important to destroy the doors? Well, if I aim, let's say, the kinetic lance over here, it will destroy the doors around it, which means it will cause a breach, and if the doors are destroyed, that means there will be less oxygen available. So that means they can create 0 oxygen environments in a very big area. And after you do this, that means the whole area will be without oxygen very fast because of the breaches. You have to cast the stun, means that when the enemy crew arrives to repair, they'll be stunned for 5 seconds. And then you use the graviton cannon, which just slows. But you kind of get the idea, they'll be stuck over here repairing and very slow or stunned. And then you can just use this thing on the kinetic lance on another room on the enemy ship and cause another breach and get very fun with the demolisher rounds. Plus you get the Hex Priest, which means you can prevent the enemy system repair. So basically destroy this, slow the enemies, they're in 0 oxygen, they take damage, and then you prevent the item from being repaired, and then you slow them, and you stun them, and then you have just a normal shot. It can be very fun to play around. Plus you have the graviton field generator, which again, if you can get some damage over time effects on the enemy ship is great. The only problem is that this particular vessel has a huge amount of problems when you're fighting a demon ship, because the demon ships don't have oxygen anyway, they don't have crew, so this is one of the worst things for you to encounter a demon vessel on. So very good in some regards, very bad in some other ones. Funny thing is, if you get a module for the 10 damage on every crew death, you can basically send bombs on the enemy ships. And if you can get something else that will summon, if you can get that module over there, oh, this will be one of the funnest and the funniest ways to play the game. Oblivion. Not much to say about this one. You have the obscene organ, which means you'll have to play with demons, but demons are pretty hard to get. A disruptor and a Harper are some of the weakest things you can get, because the enemy will outshoot you most of the times. Because, think about it, you will not be using the disruptor without having the hull reaper ready. You'll be firing every 15 seconds. The ship is also quite small. And yeah, you have to be kind of careful, because the enemies can just board it and you'll have nowhere to run. But you do start with the Dark Prism Matters, which means you can teleport yourself and crew to the enemy ship. But you don't really have anything to work with, so unless you can get some demonic units or some demonic summons, I guess you can get some demonic summoners. You'll have a lot of fun, because everything you summon will have 10 HP, 1 DPS, which is super strong. So I guess this is a much stronger summoner build than the one that I showed you in the beginning, but it's harder to get going with it. So keep in mind that your crew will repair very slow and move very slow. Immune to poison, but yeah, that's about it. I guess you can try to make some poison build, some other cool things. But very hard to play with some of the hull. So once you get past basically the first tier of ships, this becomes so much harder to play with. And now this is the one that I unlocked lastly. This is even stronger but also weaker, as you can imagine. The Carnivore hatch is not so important, because it basically can do nothing, but you also start with the launch bay. I guess you have to be careful you don't send the Gristle Hound with you. You're only about 50 seconds. So this is an upgraded version of a Hound. Kind of interesting. If you can get it to sit on the launch bay, you can launch it with the commander. The Bullet Priest is just for killing enemy crew if it can, and spawning some trolls here and there. I guess you can send the Gladiatics with your commander and he'll summon a Hound, which can be super strong. But the module is quite weak, so pretty good weapons. You can summon the enemy crew to your own ship and do some really crazy stuff, but for that you need to have better doors, stronger doors. And the Warblends, which creates a subspace bridge, meaning a bridge that will summon demons. So I guess the only way to use this is to board a part of the vessel, like the weapon rooms. You'll board the enemy weapon room, and then you'll create a warp subspace bridge on another part of the ship, so that ship will summon demons that are allied with you. But I guess this is strong in the beginning, but then it will lose some of its potency. But I don't know, I just like this one much better, the Obscene Organ. But in order to get demonic units and demonic stuff, or psychers, you'll have to go through some very dangerous areas of the game, so it's so fun. Let's unlock a C variant on some of this, because I want to see if it shows up then. I guess I will unlock this one. If I go to the list, yeah, as you can see, C version will not, or C variant will not appear even if you have some C variants. I don't think I'll want to play as that one. This one is quite weak as well. I think I'll save some of my points for the other stuff I might encounter later. So if you're thinking, why is this so important? Well, this is important because when you have new game over here, use the commander, but you can also randomize the whole. This will be very fun to play as, because you can just create some random conditions for yourself, for example playing on, let's say, Torment 4, and then you randomize. But no, I think this is my favorite ship with the things you can start out with. Yeah, this is such a strong start. You don't really need the weapons. I guess the weapons are secondary. Probably the hardest thing to get in the game are the modules, so that's why having a module from the beginning of the game really helps you a lot. I think the bloat might, when it dies, it creates poison anyway, so that's why you have this over here. Very fun. I cannot wait until I see the other ships, because I think the developers are hiding the best ships for last, for sure. Anyway, see you next time. Bye bye.